There was a 78-year-old woman who almost died in the very home she had lived in for more than half her life. For 12 hours, she lay motionless on the cold tile floor. No one knew, no one called, no one came. And yet, when she woke up, she didn't complain. She didn't cry. She just whispered, "Now I understand. I'm still alive. To begin again." And from that moment, she stepped into a new journey, no longer living in hopes that others might change, but choosing to let go and come back to herself. Today, I want to invite you to hear the powerful story of this woman. And from her journey, she left us 11 lessons not to memorize, but to live by. Lessons that just might make you look at your own life differently. And perhaps, start over right here, from this very video. Her name is Helen. She was 78, and for a long time, she believed she was living. But in truth, she was merely surviving. After her husband passed, the house felt like it lost all its warmth. Everything was still in its place: his worn slippers, his favorite tea mug still hanging on the hook, and the old sweater she hadn't dared to wash. Her daughter once said, "Mom, why don't you come stay with me for a few months? Living alone like this isn't good for you." Helen nodded, just to ease her daughter's worries. But she had grown used to the emptiness. In fact, she was afraid to lose it. Each morning, she still got up on time, made tea, turned on the radio, watered her orchids. But inside, she felt dry. The sunrise no longer stirred her. The birdsong no longer moved her. Then one morning, she opened the drawer of her late husband's old desk drawer she'd avoided for 5 years. Inside was a small letter, neatly folded in his familiar handwriting. "If life ever feels too heavy, just let go and breathe. I've always believed you'd be okay, even without me." She wasn't sure how long she sat there. All she knew was she cried. For the first time in years. Later that day, Helen came across a flyer for a community meditation class for seniors. Bold letters read, "With just one breath you can find your way back to yourself." She didn't know why she went. Maybe because of the letter. Maybe because of a faint trust still alive in the gaze of her departed husband. The first session wasn't easy. She sat on a plain wooden chair, surrounded by other elders, each carrying their own unease. The instructor was an older man, silver-haired, with a voice soft as the wind. "Don't try too hard. Don't overthink. Just breathe and feel." She did as he said, but her head was filled with questions. Do I really need to learn how to breathe? Am I doing this right? What if someone sees me cry? After 20 minutes, she left early. But she came back the next session, and the one after that. Not because she was good at meditating, but because every time she sat still, something inside her started to shift. In the third week, on a cold morning, she heard the chirp of a sparrow outside the door. It was such a simple sound, but for the first time, she laughed. Not because of anything special, just because she felt present. She remembered all her regrets. "I wish I had taken another path. I wish I had traveled more, said I love you more." And then, she realized her whole life had been spent living in what-ifs, always aching for what she lacked, instead of being grateful for what she still had. That night, Helen wrote a letter to her daughter. No guilt, no complaints. She simply wrote, "I love you, and I know you love me too. I'm sorry I once expected you to care for me the way I cared for you. Now I understand true love doesn't hold conditions." She sealed the envelope, not expecting a reply. She also began cleaning up corners of the house long buried in dust. She neatly folded her husband's sweaters, not with tears, but with quiet gratitude. One afternoon, as she sat by her porch, Ethan, the meditation teacher, came by and asked, "How are you feeling these days?" Helen smiled. "I don't blame life anymore. And for the first time, I think I'm still alive." From then on, she sat quietly each morning for 10 minutes. Not to achieve anything, just to breathe in and listen to her heart. She discovered When you stop waiting for something to change, you start to change yourself. She didn't know what the future held. But every morning, when sunlight streamed through the window, she smiled and thought, I'm still here. I've let go, and I am alive again. But then, something strange returned. Even though her heart felt lighter, even though she meditated every morning, there was still a hollow space. Some nights, lying in bed, she found herself hoping for something. Not her daughter, not her late husband, but something deeper. A sense of recognition that she had found peace, that after everything she deserved to live the rest of her days in love. But life doesn't hand you a diploma for waking up. It gives you a test, unannounced. That winter night, it was cold. She showered late. The floor was wet. She slipped. She fell hard. She couldn't move. Her phone was too far away. The lights in the house stayed on. But she lay there alone for over 12 hours. She woke up in the hospital. The nurse said, "A neighbor noticed your light on all night. They called the police." The doctor added, "If they'd waited a few more hours, you wouldn't have made it." Helen didn't cry. She didn't feel scared. Just empty. Forgotten. No texts. No calls. She began to doubt everything. I let go. I lived better. So why am I still alone? For days, she stopped meditating, stopped reading, stopped replying to old friends. Every night, she stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Maybe I'm still invisible even after all the change." Then, one afternoon, sunlight filtered through the hospital curtain. Ethan sat quietly by her bed. She asked, "Why did you come?" He didn't answer. He just handed her a note, handwritten. Some lessons don't come to help us avoid pain. They come to teach us how to smile through it. She read it. Tears came soft, not bitter, like something had finally been washed away. She whispered, "I used to hope my daughter would care for me when I got old. But now I understand. No one owes anyone anything. And I owe nothing to the past either." When she returned home, she didn't try to start over. She didn't cling to the old. She just wastefully. She cleaned out the attic that had once been a museum of grief. This time, not to say goodbye, but to love it again. She wiped each photo frame, folded each shirt, and opened the window that had been shut for 5 years. Light rushed in, the scent of old wood mixed with sunbeams. And she knew, I no longer need to hold on to anything to prove I once hurt. She sat down, placed a hand on her chest, and breathed deeply, gently, truly. Since that day, she returned to meditation. Not to find peace, but simply to be present in every moment. She made tea for herself like she was serving her oldest friend. She looked at white flowers blooming, as if seeing the color white for the first time. One day, her daughter came to visit. Looking around at the bright, tidy, cozy home, she hugged her and whispered, "Mom, you've changed." Helen smiled. She didn't need to say anything. She already knew, deep down, I haven't changed. I've simply come home to myself. Dear friend, if you've ever fallen into a cold, silent place in your soul, a place no one could reach or hear you, please remember, you still have your breath. Return to it soft, as a bird gliding by the window, gentle as light, pouring into an old attic, and you'll realize you were never lost. You don't need anyone's validation to live meaningfully. You don't need to exist in someone else's life to feel worthy. You just need to be fully here in your own. And if today you can let go of just one thing, a regret, a hope, an old hurt, then let it go, so that life can find space to come back in. Helen's story is not just the journey of a widowed woman rediscovering herself. It could be your story, my story, or anyone who's ever felt lost in the later chapters of life. After 2 awakenings on from the outside, 1 from deep within, she no longer lived in the past, nor in the weight of expectations. She lived in herself. And from that journey, we can quietly take away 11 lessons, simple truths that may just transform the rest of our days. If you're searching for peace, please listen to the lessons that follow. Not with your mind, but with a heart that's ready to be gently healed. Lesson 1. Stop wishing your life had been different. For a long time, Helen, the woman in our story, lived inside the words, "if only." After her husband passed, she would sit by the window each morning, cradling a cup of tea, her heart full of unspoken questions. If only I had chosen a different career. If only I had lived more for myself. If only my children were closer, maybe I wouldn't feel so alone. She was alive, but not really living in the present. Until one quiet autumn morning during meditation, she heard the simple chirping of a sparrow outside her door. It was ordinary, but she laughed. Not because anything special happened, but because, in that moment, she realized, I'm still here. I'm alive. Not in the past, not in my regrets, but right now. The Buddha once said, no one can go back and relive a single day, but anyone can begin again in this very breath. We suffer because we believe life should have been different. We should have been more successful. That person shouldn't have left. We shouldn't have made that mistake. But should have isn't real. Only now is real. In daily life, happiness doesn't come from a better version of the past. It comes from letting go of the belief that life must go your way and choosing to live with what is right here, right now. You don't need to do anything grand to apply this lesson. Just notice. The next time you hear yourself complain, compare, or whisper, I wish, pause. Take a deep breath. Look at what you do have. A roof over your head, a warm meal, working legs, a life still moving through you. In that moment, you're shifting from regret to gratitude. And gratitude is the soil where happiness grows, especially in our later years. You don't need a different life. You just need to be fully present in the one you have. Lesson 2. Don't make promises you can't truly keep. Through meditation, Helen didn't just learn to sit still or watch her breath. She learned to listen to the truth inside herself. One of her first awakenings came when she began to reflect on her old expectations, especially the unspoken ones toward her daughter. After one morning's meditation, she wrote a letter. I love you, and I know you love me. I'm sorry for once expecting you to take care of me just as I once took care of you. She didn't mention any specific help or promises, but in letting go of expectations, she was releasing an unspoken contract tone often carried by a parent's heart. She had once hoped her daughter would repay her care with care, but now she saw true love is not a transaction. No one owes anyone anything. The Buddha taught, only words spoken from awareness carry freedom. Many of us parents, spouses, friends hold silent expectations. We carry promises we never voiced, then hurt when others don't fulfill them. In daily life, sometimes a promise isn't made with words, it's made with silent expectations. Look closely. Are you waiting for someone to do something because you once did it for them? If so, pause and ask yourself, do I truly need them to do this? Or am I asking them to repay something I once gave? Don't write promises in someone else's name. Don't expect them to keep a vow they never agreed to. Speak openly. Love freely. Let go of silent burdens you've placed on others and on yourself. Lesson 3. Don't keep love locked inside. One of the quietest forms of loneliness is this. We love, but we don't say it. We miss someone, but don't reach out. We care, but stay silent. Helen knew this deeply, but not right away. For years, after her husband died and her daughter moved away, she lived alone in their old house. Each day, she cooked, watered her orchids, sipped tea alone and thought, she knows I love her. But after a few weeks of meditation, once the anger softened and the waiting quieted, she looked inward and found a hollow space. It wasn't that her daughter never called. It wasn't that anyone abandoned her. It was that she had never truly spoken what she held inside. That day, she picked up a pen and wrote, "I love you, and I know you love me. I'm sorry for once expecting you to care for me the way I cared for you. Now I understand true love has no conditions." The Buddha once said, "Love unspoken is like a flower that never blooms, beautiful in your heart, but unable to share its fragrance. Love, when not expressed, can quietly become a burden, drying us out from the very feeling that once nourished us." In daily life, you don't need grand gestures. Just say what you've always wanted to say to someone you care about. Write a short letter, send a thoughtful message, or simply hold their hand and whisper, "I'm grateful for you, and I'm glad we're here together." Some things, if not said today, may never be said at all. Love is not meant to be stored. It's meant to be shared while there's still time. Because being here, together, is already a blessing. And speaking your love out loud, that's the key to healing both for you and for them. Lesson 4. Don't hold on to resentment. One of the hardest truths about aging is the quiet feeling of being forgotten, especially by the very people who once meant the world to us. Helen once carried resentment toward her daughter. Not loud, not through words, but a silent bitterness. "I raised her. I sacrificed so much. And yet when I needed her most, she stayed distant, cold no calls, no care during my weakest moments." That unspoken hurt grew quietly inside her. She didn't even realize it was there until the night she lay alone on a cold tile floor for 12 hours after a fall. She thought, "Maybe this is the end. No one even knows I'm here." After being rescued and brought back home, something changed. She didn't feel angry anymore. She didn't ask, "Why didn't anyone come?" Instead, she gently asked herself, "Why am I still expecting them to?" The Buddha taught, resenting those who do not show up is like adding fuel to the fire burning in your own hands. And in that moment, Helen understood. I no longer expect my daughter to care for me as I once cared for her. I no longer feel anger for what was never returned. I let go because she needs forgiveness, but because I deserve to live the rest of my life with a light heart. In daily life, take a quiet moment and ask yourself, is there someone who no longer plays a role in your life, yet still lingers in your heart as a wound? An old friend? A distant son? Maybe a younger version of yourself? You don't need to forget them. Just stop repeating the old story. Start telling a new one. One where you choose peace over pain. Letting go doesn't make you weak. Letting go simply helps you walk forward without dragging what no longer serves you. Lesson 5. Don't ignore your intuition. Through her meditation journey, Helen discovered something even more powerful than breathing techniques. She discovered that her inner voice or intuition had always been there. She had simply stopped listening. On her first day at the meditation center, she didn't last 20 minutes. Her mind wandered. She felt uncomfortable and out of place. Thoughts raced through her head. Why do I need to learn how to breathe? What am I even doing here? She got up and left early. But the next day she came back. No one called her. No one convinced her. There was just something. Soft, quiet yet persistent pulling her back. That silent return became the start of her healing. That's something, that quiet nudge eyes, what we call intuition. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply whispers, there's something here meant for you. The Buddha said, a mind unclouded like still water reflects the truth. Intuition is the subtle vibration of a clear heart when it's no longer buried under fear, habit, or the pressure to always be right. In daily life, when you're facing a choice, big or small, pause. It could be whether to call someone, attend an event, or just sit quietly for a few minutes. Listen, not with your head, with your heart. If something softly stirs inside you, even if it makes no logical sense, don't ignore it. That gentle tug might be the key to a door you didn't know needed opening. Just like the day Helen walked out of her first meditation class and chose to return the next day. Not because of reason, but because her heart whispered, "Try one more time." Wisdom begins with listening. And sometimes, the deepest guidance comes from the quietest voice within. Lesson 6. Don't lock yourself in the past. One morning during meditation, Helen heard the chirp of a sparrow through the window, and she laughed. Not because anything happened, but because for the first time in years, she felt alive. That moment sparked a realization. I've lived my whole life in what-ifs. What if I had chosen a different path? What if I had traveled more? What if I had dared to live for myself? These thoughts had played on repeat for years since her husband passed. They became a quiet background track of regret. Familiar, heavy, unchanging. But that small laugh, triggered by birdsong, meant she was finally here. Not in memory, not in longing, but in the present moment. And that's when she understood. You can't move forward if you're still chained to what's behind you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It just means you stop letting the past imprison your future. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha said, "Do not chase after the past. Do not seek the future. The truth is found in the present moment. Mindfulness is the path." We all carry some form of regret. But if your mind constantly drifts to what could have been, your heart will never find peace in what is. In daily life, every time your mind whispers, "If only I had," stop. Take a slow, deep breath. Then ask yourself, what's the sky like today? Are you still breathing? What small thing can you still do right now? That space, this moment you're in, is where the future truly begins. Regret is human, but staying trapped in regret is a choice. And you deserve to choose something lighter. Lesson 7. Don't think you have to stay where you are forever. Before Helen discovered meditation, her days were nearly identical. She made tea, watered her orchids, sat alone, and watched time pass in silence. She lived in the same familiar home, once filled with her husband's laughter, the sound of her daughter running down the stairs, and joyful family dinners. But now, only empty chairs and long pauses remained. She used to think, maybe this is all that's left. I just need to get used to it. Then something happened that shattered that belief. One day, she slipped in the bathroom and lay there, unable to move for 12 hours. No one knew. No one came. A neighbor called the police. She was rescued, taken to the hospital. And when she woke up, she realized, I used to think I could live alone forever. But after that fall, I know now, nothing stays the same. Even a familiar space can become dangerous if I no longer belong in it. When she returned home, she didn't continue life as before. The first thing she did was clean out the attic, a place untouched for years. She flung open the window that had never been opened. Sunlight poured in. The wind ran through her hair. And she knew, I'm not who I used to be, and I don't need to keep living the way I used to. The Buddha taught in the Dhammapada, do not cling to what is known. Be like water always flowing, always new. In daily life, sometimes we live in a familiar loop, a repetitive job, a quiet, lifeless home, a relationship that feels cold, a state of mind that's still but heavy. And we say, I guess this is just how life is. But no, it doesn't have to be. Helen proved that a small decision like opening a window can change the entire atmosphere of life. You don't have to move houses. You don't need to make a big change. You just have to step out of the old way of being through one new action, no matter how small. You don't have to live forever as an old version of yourself. You have the right and the power to begin a new chapter. No matter how old you are. Lesson 8. Don't stop learning. When Helen first stepped into the community meditation class, she had no idea why she was there. She even left early on the first day. Not because she was bored, but because her mind was uneasy. She didn't know what she was doing. Why do I have to learn how to breathe? She wondered. But the next day, she came back. No one invited her. No one reminded her. There was simply something pulling her, and that quiet pull opened the door to one of the greatest lessons. Even at 78, we can start learning again, even if it's how to breathe. The learning wasn't about textbooks or degrees. It was about slowing down, listening to herself, learning how to be still, to feel, and to be present. From then on, Helen meditated every morning. Not because she was good at it, but because she felt herself changing. And through that silent practice, she realized, I don't need a different life. I just need to live more deeply in the one I already have. The Buddha said, even in old age, if one remains diligent and mindful, one is younger than the one who lives in forgetfulness. In daily life, maybe you've told yourself, I'm too old to learn something new. But learning doesn't require a classroom or diploma. Learn to listen. Learn to sit quietly. Learn to rewrite an old letter. Learn through a single breath. Learn how to love again. If Helen could sit down, close her eyes, and learn how to breathe again, then any of us can learn how to live more fully, starting today. Growing old doesn't mean we stop learning. It means we're finally ready to learn the most important lessons, with a heart quiet and deep enough to truly understand. Lesson 9. Don't lose your sense of self. One image from Helen's story stands out clearly. After returning home from the hospital, the first thing she did wasn't rest. It was cleaning out her attic. This was the space where old belongings had been stored. Her husband's mementos, dusty memories, and time she no longer dared to touch. But this time, she wasn't clearing it out to say goodbye. She was cleaning it to begin again on her own terms. She opened the window that had been shut for years. The light came in. The breeze came in. No one told her to do it. She didn't ask permission. She simply knew, this is what I need to do, and no one can do it for me. From that moment forward, she started living by her own rhythm, meditating every morning, writing a heartfelt letter to her daughter, not to blame, but to love. No longer hoping, no longer pretending, no longer the mother who needed to be needed. She was Helen again, a woman breathing, living, and free. Everything she did came from her, not to meet expectations, not to seek approval. The Buddha taught, be your own island, be your own refuge. No two lives are the same, and no one should live as a version of someone else. Not for a child, a partner, or society. And in old age, more than ever, we must return to who we truly are in daily life. Ask yourself, is there something I keep doing just to avoid being judged? Is a part of me hidden beneath roles, obligations, or outdated routines? Try doing one small thing your way. Wear that outfit you've always loved. Arrange flowers just because. Sit quietly without explaining yourself. You don't need to be anyone else's version of you. You are enough exactly as you are. Lesson 10. Don't expect your children to repay you. In the handwritten letter Helen sent to her daughter, after many quiet mornings of meditation, there was one deeply honest line. I'm sorry for having once expected you to care for me the way I cared for you. Those words didn't come from anger. They weren't born of blame. They came after a moment that nearly cost her life. A cold, silent fall in her home, where she lay on the floor for 12 hours, and no one knew. When she woke up in the hospital, she wasn't angry. She didn't blame her daughter for not calling, or her family for not showing up. She simply asked herself, am I still waiting for something that I'm meant to let go of? And the answer was, yes, I've been hoping my daughter would one day return the love I gave. I've treated love like a debt and waited to be repaid. But from that near-death experience, she finally understood. Love is not alone. And children are not born to repay the sacrifices of their parents. She chose to release her silent expectations, to stop holding unspoken demands in her heart. And in a beautiful twist, when she let go, her daughter showed up. Seeing the bright, peaceful home, she whispered, "Mom, you've changed." The Buddha once said, "Every attachment brings suffering, and every expectation is the seed of disappointment." In daily life, the more deeply we love our children, the easier it is to expect them to love us back, to care for us, worry about us, and respond as we once did for them. But true love asks for nothing in return. It doesn't keep score. It doesn't carry an invoice. You can love and let go. You can give and not wait to be repaid. The greatest love is the one that sets our children free, free from the weight of our hopes. And it is that freedom that often brings them back, not out of duty, but from the heart. Lesson 11. Don't forget to return to your inner self. Throughout her journey of transformation, the most powerful and lasting thing Helen did wasn't cleaning her home, writing letters, or opening the windows. It was this. She returned to her breath. At first, she went to the meditation class out of curiosity and left early. Why am I even here? Do I really need to learn how to breathe? She once thought. But something deep inside nudged her to return. Not because someone told her to, but because her inner voice called her back. From then on, each morning, she sat in stillness for 10 minutes. She didn't expect anything to happen. She didn't worry about the future or the past. She was simply present through her breath. And one morning she laughed because of a sparrow outside the window. Not because of anything extraordinary, but because, for the first time in years, her heart felt at peace. Later, when she fell in the bathroom and lay alone for hours, she didn't panic. When she woke up in the hospital, she didn't say much. She just breathed. And when she returned home, no one had to remind her. She resumed meditating every morning. It was her quiet return to the safest place inside her. The Buddha taught, within this very body is a fortress, a mountain, a cave, where the wise return and find refuge. Helen didn't rely on others. She didn't wait for her daughter to change. She didn't wait for life to become easier. She took refuge in her own awakened mind. In daily life, you don't have to travel far to find peace. Just sit quietly for 5 minutes each day and watch your breath go in and out. Your inner world, if left unattended, will drift toward worry, regret, and resentment. But if you return to it regularly, it becomes your most faithful companion, helping you live with more ease, no matter what life brings. You can't control life, but you can do the most powerful thing of all. Return to yourself every day, every breath. Dear friend, Helen's life wasn't extraordinary. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous. She didn't accomplish grand things. But the quiet changes she made, in silence, through pain, and through her return to presence, have touched the hearts of many. These 11 lessons from her journey may be the same lessons you've lived through, or are facing now. And if there's one truth to hold on to, let it be this. True transformation always begins within. And no matter your age, life can begin again with a single breath. So if today you feel heavy, regretful, or empty, don't try to become someone else. Just sit still and breathe. Perhaps that is the kindest thing you can do for yourself in this precious season of life.